Thank you for joining the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston for our online Ministers Forum. I'm the Reverend Dr. Colin Bossen, Senior Minister of the congregation. These programs are conversations with community organizers, scholars, religious leaders, and others who provide inspiration. Their purpose is to offer spiritually grounded and science-based resources so that we can encourage everyone to thrive in these times. Today, I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Dr. Jolie Rocke, First Houston's new acting music director. Jolie, welcome.
Thank you.
I thought we could just maybe start out by talking a little bit about why you're excited to be here with First Houston.
I'm excited for several reasons. One, because I love to serve. Two, because I love music. And then also because the music here specifically comes from a very diverse tradition. So I get to work with music from different languages, different cultures, different genres, and I'm really excited about that.
So I don't think, this is sort of an opportunity for you to get introduced to the congregation in some ways, because we haven't, with COVID, we're not in person as much. Mm-hmm. And I don't think folks really know about your background all that much. So you have a doctor in vocal performance mm-hmm. from
the University of Connecticut.
And you studied what as part of that?
It's a degree in vocal performance, a doctorate in vocal performance, mm-hmm. but I also have a minor in music history. Okay. And I think that's where this idea of diverse music uh-huh. and looking at the liturgical setting and how you match music to go with the sermon and with the readings mm-hmm. and all of that kind of ties into that my love of history uh-huh. And making connections in social context, social justice. Uh-huh. All of that is those are things that I'm very impassioned about.
And you did research on Marian Anderson as part of your
Marian Anderson was born in 1897. She was probably the first African-American superstar contralto, specifically. Okay. And a contralto is the lower of the female voices for the range. And she was the first American to tour as a solo artist in Scandinavia, across okay. Scandinavia in the 1930s, the early 1930s. And I can tell you a whole bunch about her. She also, she had over a 60-year career and sang and performed into her 80s. Mm-hmm. And started her career as singing in church choir when she was 6 years old. Uh-huh. She was originally from Philadelphia, mm-hmm. and she sang in 6 out of the 7 continents. Wow. She also was wealthy, uh-huh. And she became wealthy as a professional mm-hmm. singer. And then I can go into her husband and all of this, but I won't. Right. So because that's enough of a. But she was involved, for example, in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s in politically with the State Department, mm-hmm. the United States State Department. They would send her out when she would perform. They would also have her go out and talk with ambassadors mm-hmm. and kings and queens and royalty across the United States. She also did USO tours mm-hmm. and performed for soldiers. And politically, she was very involved. Mm-hmm. And that's what my dissertation sure. kind of gets into, how politically she was involved. And she was, there was this whole thing about the bootstrap theory of, mm-hmm. If Marian Anderson can do it, you can do uh-huh. it. And that is so, there were certain opportunities that uh-huh. she was afforded. And she came from not a wealthy family. Mm-hmm. So she, she did pull up her mm-hmm. bootstraps, but she did that with the help of her community mm-hmm. and people around her who saw her gift and saw what she had to offer the world. And they worked on honing that, and she took off and did phenomenal. Yeah.
Do you perform her pieces ever? Or?
I am not a contralto, but I do perform her pieces.
Okay.
Song to the Dark Virgin, which was written for her by Florence Price, is one of my favorite songs to sing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So maybe we'll get to hear that sometime.
At some point, yes.
This is not the first church you've worked with, a religious community. So, tell us a little bit about that background.
So I grew up in the Missionary Baptist Church in Queens, New York, and I started going to church when I was about 10 years old, and sang a lot in church and toured around with church choirs until I graduated from high school. I went to Music and Art High School in New York, LaGuardia High School of Music and the Arts.
That's the Fame High School, correct?
The Fame High School, yes. And so I performed as well in school, and I was one of the solo singers in school. And I went on to get my bachelor's degree at the Hart School in Connecticut, University of Hartford. Then, I started teaching music in public schools and sang. Started singing again after about 9 years of teaching. I started singing professionally. Okay. And so I also stayed connected with the church. So I started, I've been in the UCC, United Church of Christ, since 1999. Okay. And served at Faith Congregational Church as an interim director of music. And then when I moved here to Houston, I was the director of music, director of creative arts, resident artist at St. Peter United Church of Christ. But I also, when I was in Connecticut, for 13 years, served as a soloist section leader and youth choir director for Asylum Hill Congregational Church. So
that's a big church, right?
It's the largest UCC church congregation in the state of Connecticut.
Right. One thing that I'm kind of interested in hearing you talk a bit more about is, especially because it's Black History Month, the African American music tradition, which you've talked about a lot, and related to Mary Anderson in the past, and
well, being African American, spirituals and anthems from the African American tradition have been very near and dear to my heart, because it's my history. It's a part of who I am. I've had a lot of support from the church communities that I've been a member of or participant in, regardless of their background. But the African American church that I grew up in and that I was a part of was very involved in seeding into my career as well, not just as a performer, but also as an educator. And so, I, like Marian Anderson, pay respect to that heritage and what my people went through for hundreds of years. And so I love the spiritual, the Negro spiritual in particular. I also love hymns. And so one of my recordings is hymns. My first recording was song settings of Langston Hughes poetry, opera, and spirituals. My second recording is hymns with a blend of jazz, classical, and gospel kind of blended sound flavor.
So what do you mean by spirituals?
So Negro spirituals came out of the times of slavery. They were created by people that were on plantations, enslaved people that were on plantations, that were working in the house. They were servants, and they took these songs, the musical background from Africa that they brought with them, and the religious texts that they were being taught on the plantation, and religious tradition. So you hear double meanings. A lot of times we talk about that, because you'll hear a song like steal away to Jesus, steal away home, I ain't got long to stay here. And that really is not just I want to go to heaven when I die, right, which is what the Bible is teaching. Right. But it's also, I want to go back to Africa. Why am I here? Why you stole me? I'm here now, and now I want to steal myself away and go back over, the Jordan River, which really represented the Atlantic Ocean, and go back home. Yeah. So the first time I heard this song was through Kathleen Battle, who sang it in her recording from the Met. Okay. And it's sung a cappella. Okay. Lord, how come me here? Lord, how come me here? Lord, how come me here? I wish I never was born. They treat me so mean here, Lord. They treat me so mean here. They treat me so mean here, Lord. I wish I never was born. They stole my children away, Lord. They stole my children away. They stole my children away. I wish I never was born.
Wow.
Yeah. And we still live in this. We still live in this where they're treating black people meanly, where they're stealing our children, killing our children off. It's still prevalent.
Right.
And what happened to our freedom is still in question. And so I have to sing these songs.
The spirituals are still today.
Yeah.
Sort of in awe of that. Sorry, this is a very impressive, beautiful, emotional piece. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm very moved. So. Is there a particular reason why that piece?
Again, because we're still being persecuted and mistreated today. 1615 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And slavery was before that, we know that.
Right.
And so there still is, we haven't attained freedom. And people want to talk all the time about how do we end racism, how do we eradicate racism. You know, that was that's of the last maybe 5-10 years that we want to eradicate racism, or we are talking about eradicating racism. But people in that are expecting Black people and African American peoples who have been enslaved and disenfranchised and marginalized for so many years to make that change. It's not our change to make. We didn't put ourselves in enslavement.
Right.
So though we play a part in not, fighting it, but I mean, how much can you fight it? How much can you, we're supposed to start killing other people because we don't want to be mistreated. And so, the ideas behind privilege are real, but people who have privilege or who own privilege and are not willing to recognize it and make a change, if that doesn't happen, things are gonna stay the way they are.
Right. No, I mean, I totally agree with you. Sometimes people are like, Colin, why do you preach about racial justice so much to a congregation that is, predominantly white? And it's, exactly that reason. It is the work of, I even say people who believe themselves to be white because race is a belief, fundamentally. It has no reality beyond the sort of belief reality, right? And so as, in a religious community, if we're about anything, we're about belief and interrogating and pushing against beliefs that are destructive and unhelpful. And so, if we're true to our sort of vision of Unitarian Universalism as a faith that speaks to the inherent worth and dignity of everybody, it means that you have to have an anti-racist message sort of at the core of what you do. And talking to a predominantly white congregation, I think it's very important to put that out there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we got to. And if you don't recognize that you play a part, whatever that part is, whether you are the perpetrator or the victim, you play a part.
Well, this is...
And so, how do we change that paradigm?
Right. This is why I think Ibram X. Kendi's work on how to be anti-racist is very helpful, because he says, it's not about, you're a racist or you're not a racist. It's sort of you do racist things, you do anti-racist things, and he has examples in his book where he does racist things. An example,
we all do,
right? So I think it's very helpful to think of it in that framework. It's racism is an action, race is a belief. They're not things that have these intrinsic realities about who we are. They're things that we believe or things that we do. And what better place to interrogate belief and confront action than within a religious community, especially one that says, we're about really thinking critically about what the world is around us and changing our actions to build the world we believe in.
Absolutely.
So.
And that said, I will say that I have been overwhelmingly welcomed here, and there's so much love within this congregation, and I'm really, really happy to be a part of the work that's going on here.
Well, we're delighted to have you, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about sort of things you're hoping to do with the music program over the next few months. I know you have, we've got a new contract accompanist who you're bringing in who plays the organ, which I know people are going to be very excited about since we haven't been having regular organ for a while. And,
she plays piano and organ. She's phenomenal. She plays all genres. She can play sight read anything as well as play by ear.
All right.
Just bringing in, diverse music that really hones in on the messages for each service. And so, some of the work I've already done, bringing in, some jazz, bringing in some Motown, right? I did some Marvin Gaye a couple of Sundays ago. And, working with the different instrumentalists that are in the congregation, as well as the singers and people who want to sing that may not call themselves a singer, but they like to sing. And just, enjoying sharing the gift of song and the gift of music. And
you're hoping to get the choir. I mean, the choir is sort of meeting right now,
We meet on Zoom once every couple of weeks, but it's really disheartening for the choir to not be able to meet in person because of, COVID. So as soon as we can meet in person again, we will. We'll start rehearsals hopefully in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And with the rehearsals, we'll just, be in the sanctuary and we'll socially distance and wear our masks, which is a whole nother challenge, but it's not a challenge that we can't, overcome. And so we will be safe and follow what our health advisory group recommends for us. I don't think that we're ready to start with the congregational singing yet. That's my feeling. I think that we need to, hold off because of the super spreading that singing causes. But I also think that, and I've already tried to create some opportunities for us to do responsorial speaking, maybe not the singing, so that way the congregation can be involved, actually involved in service. And so looking for more opportunities like that, finding ways to engage the regular congregants that maybe are not in the choir, that play an instrument or sing and want to, do something special from time to time. Yeah. So just being open to, what people do and want and love, and recognizing that we all come from diverse backgrounds and we all have things that we love and things we don't love. And so trying to honor what we love as individuals and learn to love that collectively.
Well, and I do think that, I'm very grateful for you coming on at this time. And it is very difficult to be starting as a music director right now. It has to be. It's challenging. I don't know what I'm doing day to day because it's like the world changes around me. I have sort of these endpoints that I'm like, okay, well, this is, I'm working with the congregation on these developmental goals over the next 5 years, and we have these things that we're supposed to achieve. And so, I get into the office and I think about how is it that we're moving towards those directions? But then everything constantly changes. So I'm like, well,
that actually happened before COVID.
I know, but the level of it, the level of it is totally different, and I think it makes it particularly I think particularly your job actually more challenging, right? Because like, okay, on a Sunday morning, like I have to do a sermon. Now, it may be that we're doing a whole pre-recorded service and Christian is videotaping me do the sermon, but I still have to like, write a sermon. Whereas like music director, it's like, okay, well, this week we can have congregational singing. No, wait! Never mind!
Yeah, and so, when you've had a lot of experience, you have a lot of things in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of things in my back pocket. My big thing right now that's very difficult to navigate is looking at the legal issues of what you can do in service and outside of service. And you see all of this music back here to try to, avoid people having to handle paper and transfer paper back and forth because of COVID. How am I going to digitize all of this? And, so there are some real challenges. Yeah. When do I work with the choir? Because trying to sing on Zoom is it's a disaster. It's a disaster. Yeah. People have tried and they find ways. It's a disaster. Yeah. So for now, I'm fine with bringing in those who are ready to come back in small groups, a duet, a trio, a quartet. As I can bring them in. And that's how we'll have to work until times get better and it's safer.
Right. Well, you did have a quartet
a couple of weeks
ago. And then this week, which we're doing a Malcolm X service, and you're having Jim McGee
do an Islamic call to prayer.
Right. Yeah. So you are trying to figure out ways to.
And the string band was participating in church, and then Traveler also came in last week. And so, things are coming along. Yeah. And I think we should look forward to more of that and looking at more genres of music. Because I've got a classical background, so we will have some classical music.
That's great. Well, I'm going to just bring it up again. I think you'll make people very happy if you have some real organ music.
We're working on that. We are working on that.
That's been, a few years since we really had we had a very beloved organist who was here for like 30 years, Bob Verzakely, and I think people really miss him and miss the organ, so I think it will be.
Well, I think Bob's spirit has been channeled into the fact that Chelsea is available to be here. So thank you, Bob, for interjecting your spirit in this place.
Making sure that we continue to have an organist.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that will be lovely. Yeah, so I understand that you're going to share with us a piece that you recorded from one of your CDs called His Eyes on the Sparrow. So you want to tell us a little bit about that piece and kind of why you like it?
Okay, so I am a breast cancer survivor. Okay. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, the first song that I leaned into was His Eyes on the Sparrow. And, the words bring true to that experience. And as a child, my mother loved that song and always wanted me to sing it. And I was like, I don't like that song very much. But when I needed it, it was there for me, and those words really were soothing to me. And, it's why should I feel discouraged when His eyes on a sparrow? I know He's watching me. And that really helped me through my breast cancer journey. And I've been 11 years cancer-free, which is a blessing. And so this is one of the reasons why I did the project, Rock of Ages Hymns for the Soul, which this is one of the recordings from. So here's His Eyes on the Sparrow.
Discouraged. Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home when Jesus is my portion, a comfort I know He watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. Whenever I am tempted, whenever clouds arise, when songs give way to sighing, when hope within me dies, I draw the closer to Him. From care, God sets me free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I know He watches. God watches me.
That was a really wonderful rendition, Jolie. And one of the things that I liked about it was sort of the way in which it feels like for you, song is a form of prayer.
Absolutely, it is.
So I'm glad that you bring that spirit to your work, and I'm glad that you'll be sharing it with us.
Thank you. And so I am really open and flexible. And somebody asked if they could request a song, one of the congregants, and it's being scheduled, I think, for next week.
Okay.
So, if people have things that they want to hear, let me know. I will jot it down, and when I can include it in service when it fits, I will.
Sure.
If it doesn't happen, it's because it just I haven't found a way to make it fit. And so I think that's something that I would like to share. And I love what I do. I love singing, I love teaching, and I love working in a church setting.
Okay. Well, we're very excited to have you with us, and excited to have you on Sunday and next Sunday, and I hope people get a chance to come and enjoy the music or enjoy it online, and that I think that there's a lot of great opportunities and things that we'll be doing together.
Yeah. And we have a fundraiser coming up.
Oh, that's right. Tell us about that.
April 30th, the choir, myself, Chelsea D'Souza, pianist, and some other guests, Traveler, string band, some other guests. We're going to do a fundraiser for the church, And
Great.
so we're looking forward to, introducing, you get to see what Chelsea and I do for our main, food. And also get to see what the choir and string band and Traveler are up to.
I didn't realize it was sort of such a big assortment of musicians.
Yes. I mean, why do a fundraiser and not
Sure.
have everybody involved?
Sure.
So
that will be very
we're going to
exciting.
highlight what we do here at First Church.
Great. Well, I'm excited, and excited to see how that turns out. And
And I'm hoping that everybody will come out or watch on, we're going to
Sure.
live stream it as well. So definitely come out and definitely give. Definitely give. We have lots of projects that we'd like to work on to help build the music department as well as some of the other things that the church needs.
Great. All right, well, thank you so much for being with us, and, we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in. If you found this video to be helpful, I hope you will consider joining us for our weekly worship service either in person or live streaming on our website, YouTube, or Facebook, 9:30 a.m. or 11:30 a.m. Central Time each Sunday. Thank you to our staff for making this video possible. It was produced by Christian Holmes. Please remember that no matter how isolated you feel, we are all in this together.